Hi, everyone. Welcome to this live transmission. Well, it ended up coming at the perfect timing. Let's say the time aligned to the heart, which has been a profound acknowledgement throughout the last few months. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Yet for me, it has been a confirmation over and over and over again that time is not flowing the same time, the same way where we were coming from, where plans would be perfectly aligned to this reality. It has now been delivering in a way that what happens is what is organically ready to manifest. Otherwise, it won't be happening. And of course, this has been always the same time, the same. Wow, like time. Okay, yeah, I know. I have to deliver huge messages regarding to time, but I know that this has happened before. This is not new. The fact that we live in a very distorted time in a manner that is not very cohesive and coherent to the cosmic rhythm, to our biologic rhythm. It is actually the other way around. It is bringing dissonance and decoherence to our true and original rhythm. And yet that now is coming more and more and more evident in a way that it's not anymore an option to sustain the same reality, where we think that we can be planning still on that, based on that inorganic time system, and continue fissuring our own holographic body and our own quantum field, our own multidimensional bodies. And yeah, so having said this, I just wanted to share this. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your comments. Happy to see you all here. This has been a very, let's say, powerful week, some powerful days. I have shared some images where I have been at, what have I been doing, and just, like a small peek of it, because actually I will be sharing way more information about what I have been up to regarding to the Boogosphere research, this spectral sphere. What has it been showing to us, where this is heading to, which is our huge news. So that's for another video. For now, the topic of this video, which is very inclusive into this topic, of course, because everything is connected, yet now more focused on the 3I Atlas and the SWAN R2. Very important to actually, define that it's the SWAN R2, because there are many SWAN objects. So, and just to mention too, because we know, I have mentioned in other videos that there are many interstellar objects right now orbiting Earth, and that, well, around Earth and the proximity of Earth's circumference, and also the solar, across the solar system, very much tuned into specific planetary alignments in a very methodical way, which, you know, we're far beyond the belief now that there are comets, you know, that passed. Well, at least for most of us, there is still people that think that they are comets, and it's very respectable. However, us that have a more cohesive awareness of our multidimensional reality, we know that they are other type of objects that are directly and indirectly communicating with us and configuring something very specific right now at this stage of evolution, planetary wise and race wise, including like intergalactic wise, not only our race, because whatever happens to humanity is influencing the whole galactic community. And this is very important. This is one of the messages that I have today for you, whoever is in resonance with the information that I share with, because the more that I come closer to all this technology, this advanced technology, not only from like vision approach or sensorial approach, holographic and so forth, yet with a tangible approach, like for instance with the Bugasphere, the the way that they are pointing out to actually to be able to connect with all this technology is not only the rational thinking, it's not only an analytical approach, is very much through the heart. So having said this, related to the vacuum, is now that I named it the collective vacuum. So what am I referring to? Vacuum is a word that I constantly use, you know, as bringing two forces together, generating a torsion. And that torsion is going to create a very specific interconnection in between those two forces, anchoring a unique coordinate that expands as a singularity. And by singularity, I mean this point of encounter that creates wholeness. What a lot of people would consider the void. So why collective vacuum? Because that also, you know, from another connotation would bring you to think that vacuum also is it represents the force of sucking, you know, like as a very same black hole, a cosmic sucking force that is going to shift everything and leave anything behind. Well, let's move aside from that, not leaving everything behind, by actually the process of organic transformation. That is the very same process that we use to generate consciousness. So, this is something that is constantly happening. We use the vacuum dynamics all the time. We are bringing forces together because the nature of our reality is polarized, is through polarization. Positive pole, negative pole coming together. That's the part that was missing. The part that is where they come together, where these forces come together. So, and it's very ironic and actually also very predetermined, because if someone tells us a story that we will be using to educate ourselves as a race and then evolve into all the way into a specific point, then it's very easy for us to comprehend why we haven't been able to fully come together, because they left that part out of the equation, the part of the singularity, where we all come together. So, and that's crucial for the vacuum. So now, the collective vacuum, what I have been reading into, as I was saying, throughout my inner process of remembrance, with the interaction that I have been having with all these advanced technologies like the spectral spheres, as the Buga sphere itself, with other type of connections, with everything that is involved in the three-eye atlas, in the swan, and also into ancient archives like the Zep Tepi. For the ones that also know, Zep Tepi is the way that ancient Kemet, all the spectrum of ancient Kemet was called, which is um, the before the younger Dryas, um, let's say after the Ice Age, then Zep Tepi came, and there was like this stage of like a stabilized stage, and then another stage of huge reconfiguration happened, where even in the ancient texts of Egyptian cosmology, as the Egyptian cosmology, not only the Egyptian one, in many other ancient cultures, they talk about this stage where gods leave earth, and then they are separated, earth from heavens. And then there comes another figure, in this case of the ancient Egyptian cosmology, named Shu, comes to separate heaven from earth, to bring order again. So if we translate this at a quantum level, it will show to us that it's talking about the separation of the poles, positive and negative, and that bridge in between these two poles, generating this continuum vortex that will keep separated them to bring back order. Why? Before that, when Zep Tepi it's talking about this space where everything is merged. Heaven and earth are one. Gods are here present. So this would also be very consistent to what the vacuum is. The vacuum is that space where everything is coherently merged. So again, I have been speaking about the vacuum here and there, the important 0 point energy and so forth, not because it's something new, yet because it's something that we are coming to remember, to bring into an awareness and practice it by command, not as something that is organically happening regardless, yet something that we can use in our advantage to actually evolve our emotional body, and not being an automatized response of this reality determining our emotions, of how we're going to be reacting to to specific events, and then be more aware of how we are meant to deliver throughout and beyond that form of programming that is present in this reality. By means of this, in a reactive way, through fear, through anger, through uncertainty, through sadness. Because again, this is the way that this reality was created, to anchor memory, to harvest energy from us. And beyond going into an approach of good guys and bad guys, because this is part of unity consciousness, as I always say, if we let's think as the vacuum itself. The vacuum is this space where energy emerges from, where life emerges from. We can abstract infinite energy from the vacuum. This is what now it's been trying to achieve, to extract infinite energy from the vacuum. So this vacuum is also the source of the 0 point energy, is the source of the Planck plasma. that space that is interconnecting us, and that when we are aware of how it works, we can actually extract not only extract energy from this field, yet actually interconnect each other through this field. Okay, so now I know this sounds very interesting. Now, how can we access to that technology? Well, first of all, understanding and remembering, because this is a critical imprint that I was talking about with Tone Mellard on our last show, that is this trauma, this collective trauma of an apocalypse happening. So there are being big wounds in our memories. Are they fixated? No. Let's remember that nothing in our story, in our past, nothing is linear, nothing is fixated. We can see it through the Mandela effects, that before something was and now it's not anymore the same way. So this is pointing something huge. We can shift the past. So all those wounded memories, all those traumas coming from the Atlantis fall, or from the Dryas, the oldest Dryas, younger Dryas, Ice Age, and so forth, that is not fixated. And I know this can sound crazy, because as humanity, we need a point of reference, a frame of reference to say, okay, so we are coming from this origin, so now we know where we are heading to. Yes, this is super important. The thing is that our origin, our essence goes beyond storytellers, goes beyond stories, because from a multidimensional approach, everything is and everything is not. We, as a collective, indeed anchor a reality, a past in this case. Why? Because with all of our energy, we're focusing on the fact that that's what happened. This is why, for so many years, all these books talking about any specific story prevailed, because they were being nourished by our life force, by our thoughts, by us thinking that that was what it is, our reality. And now that we are aware that there is an infinite field of probabilities, then we say, okay, so if everything is simultaneously happening, are there timelines where there was no apocalypse? Guess what? Yes. Yet they are very weak at this moment. Why? Because we were not aware of that multidimensional field. Most people wouldn't remember that. Yet now that more and more beings are remembering that there is an infinite field of probabilities, and that we just need to tune into that highest timeline to connect it and acknowledge it as our past. We are that level of powerful. When we come together and we say, okay, so that those apocalyptic wounds, it was our past at some point, because we fed that reality, because that's what it was needed for us to evolve into a higher level of consciousness. Yet it's not fixated. Why am I so sure about this? Let's talk about your life, how you grew up. I have already just given one example, like the Mandela effect. Let's go to another example. Let's say, what about people that shift their color of their eyes, or that perhaps at some moment they had a mole somewhere and they don't have it anymore. Because again, realities are non-fixated. Our past, where we're coming from, is not, this is why they say our past does not determine who we are, because they are quite accurate. It doesn't, because it's fluctuating. We have the capability to connect with any timeline that we wish to. If we do it individually, it will have a ripple effect in our individual peripheral. If we tune into it as a collective, it will have an impact as a humanity. So that's where the interesting part comes from, which is, as a collective, how are we going to come together in alignment to choose upon a specific reality that would be the highest timeline in the past to now create this reality? Well, I have a better option, because again, from a non-linear time, we shift our past through our present, which means every day, every moment, becoming the highest version of ourselves, acknowledging and connecting from our power source here in our heart. What is the highest timeline in my past for me to connect with? What do you envision? Okay, things weren't up in Atlantis. And then your mind, your rational thinking will be wondering, well, if I shift that, then I don't exist, right? Because why would I be here on Earth then? If Atlantis, the fall didn't happen, then I wouldn't be here. We would be already in spaceships. So how can I explain this to my rational thinking? Well, for that, I tell you, if you're here, again, non-linearity, if you are here right now commanding that your past, your present is now connecting to a timeline where Atlantis fall did not happen, it is more actually what will be shifting in your present is that from now on, you already wear Lisa, you already did all those choices. You already made all those choices. You were already born in the United States. That already is registered as your past. Yet from now on, all your memories, the memories within you that were connecting to traumas, to wounds, regarding to apocalyptic memories, from now on, those will be recoded within your system and turn into the codes of non-apocalyptic codes, of non-apocalyptic constants. Meaning by this, that within your memory, the memory that you're bringing into this reality, to use it to serve yourself, to render your reality right here, right now, won't be connecting to trauma, will be connecting to thriving. That's what shifts. All these paradoxes, whereas, the grandfather, if the child comes, in topology and comes from the future to kill the grandfather, then the child won't exist anymore. let's think big. Let's think multidimensionally. So within all these branches of the quantum, we're capable to merge and create and co-create whatever we choose to. If we are capable to move something that is heavier than our body itself, when we are coming from a survival instinct, like a mother that is capable to lift a car to save her child, where is logic here? Where are the laws of physics here? They're very much not cohesive, to at least the ones that we were taught, the principles. So this reality is perfectly renderable. This reality can be created right now into whatever we choose to design. What is truly powering it? Why is then, you might say, okay, so you're talking about all these beautiful and powerful things. Why haven't we fully achieved it? And this is where this other part comes. And this is very much connected to the Zep Tepi. Ever since the axis of the tilt of the Earth, the axis tilt of Earth was deliberately created, ever since that moment, we stopped being aligned to the true north. So now imagine that your whole system is configured to aim to the north, okay? Yet your reality moved, defaced that north. So from your system, every time that you're aiming to the north, your target is there. But the reality was defaced. So you're missing it by 23.6 degrees. So now you take this into practice. You are, I don't know, playing gotcha. And every time that you are pointing out to your friend, and then you are super sure, and even you have like the microscope and, like the zoom in, and it's like, dude, but I was aiming there. Why? I missed by 23.5 degrees. Let's be very specific. What happened? Oh, then they say, oh, it needed to be recalibrated. The lens wasn't calibrated. That's why you missed. So this is a way to say that we need to be recalibrated. Our heart needs to be recalibrated to the true north. Because all of our reality, cosmically speaking, is being rendered to a very specific north of origin. But our body was decalibrated at the moment of the collapse of the something with the earth creating the axis tilt. That moved everything. And then that fractally translated into our heart. Because if we speak in whole of fractal terms, we will know scientifically that a cosmic projection or manifestation is a micro or meso projection of our biology or at a molecular level. So in the case of our biology, our heart is misaligned in most of the humans by 23.5 degrees, being inclined to the left, which is also the feminine aspect. So here comes something super, super important. Okay, let's remember trauma, wounds, decalibration, and the Earth's axis tilt and our heart's axis tilt. Okay, let's have those 5 constants very present now. So what happens next is that throughout that axis tilt being generated, a huge trauma, a huge wound is anchored. How? Through one of the hugest apocalypses on Earth. Because when the moon came, an apocalypse happened. The magnetic field of the Earth shifted. There was motion. There was water coming through. There was a lot also of solar behavior going on in a different way. So now putting all of this together, because you will say, "Ooh, this is ringing a bell to me," like we're having a lot of these things right now. Not to worry. Let's remember, we live in a multidimensional reality. We're capable to render whatever we choose to. And even together, we're super powerful. So now what? Okay, so this collapse happened. The Earth's axis tilt was generated, and then us, or humans, or the beings here on Earth, progressively started being born with an axis tilt in the hearts of the beings that started after that event being born on Earth. Why? Because again, fractally speaking, graphically speaking, everything tends to repeat at different scales. In this case, the heart to the Earth's axis tilt, or the Earth's heart. Okay, so now, next. If we say that this inclination went all the way to the heart, to the feminine side, and that the moon came in, and that the feminine is related to the heart, and that the collapse in between, and the collapse, the fall of Atlantis happened because there was a lot of focus on the science and very little focus on the heart, on the nature of the heart. Well, we see how everything starts to get very connected, very entangled. Okay, so now, when we talk about, okay, this heart being inclined to our feminine side, linearly speaking, because guys, this was designed in such a sublime way that if we speak linearly, the universe, the feedback coming from the universe will be linear. Believe me, even if it's not. Why? Because it's showing to us what we want to see or what we are choosing to see. So if we talk in linear terms, okay, so this side, which is my feminine side, is very much connected to the weight of that axis tilt. And even in I have mentioned this, many of these things, that even in the temple of Abydos, which is the Osiris temple representing the divine masculine, there is Isis trying to put back the pillar, Osiris pillar, the diet, in place, which is aligned to the true north. And now, so this, what will happen next? If we realigned our heart to the true north, energetically speaking, giving the command day by day, knowing it, feeling it, being thankful for it, using our plasma body to bring in our heart to the center, bring in our heart to the center, bring in our heart to the center. I mean, this has already begun in kids that are being born with their heart centered. So this is highly visible. Even shifting our blood, I can prove it to you scientifically speaking. Coming from Rh positive to Rh negative is possible to weaken your your D antigen. It's highly possible. You just need to drink the correct water, structured water, as it's commonly known, which is the fourth state of water. But anyway, that's another topic. So, bottom line, if you give the command of your heart to realign, then we will understand, okay, so why is there so much weight on the feminine energy? I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about patriarchy, matriarchy, battle in between forces, which leads me to another topic, which is the fact that most of our memories are being anchored to Mars field, to Mars consciousness, the warrior consciousness. Because every planet that is coming closer to the sun, one represents the past, linearly speaking, and one represents the future, represents what we shall learn from, and what, like, what generates our wisdom, and the epitome of our wisdom, where we are heading to, in this case Venus. Why are there so many depictions of ancient artifacts with Venus? Because it's showing to us where we shall be heading to. If we tune into Venusians, we will see that they are very much into love. They are very much into heart vortex expansion, wholeness, and so forth. Even these very advanced avatars like Quetzalcoatl, they are connected to Venus. They say that they came from Venus. I won't go into that because, again, that's another topic, just bringing it up. But I'm trying to, okay, so, well, I will read later um, into your messages. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I think this will be easier. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thank you for all your comments. If there are any questions, or I will be also commenting on that. So, bottom line now, well, not the bottom yet. We're still getting there. We're getting there. So now, when we say that, okay, we're restoring our heart to the true north, that's very highly possible, and that even at some point you will get an x-ray and the doctor will come and tell you, how did you center your heart? Because if people that get cured from a terminal disease in 1 week and doctors cannot find an answer, a logical answer to that, well, how much is different that of the heart? Because again, this is a holographic reality. We can render whatever we choose upon. The important thing is to do it from our heart vortex, to learn this time based on the past, linearly speaking, that we have been routed to as a collective, which is the apocalyptic stages, the traumas, and so forth. So now, okay, collapse of a celestial body into Earth, axis tilt being generated, reflecting in our heart axis tilt, more weight to the feminine side in a linear form of speaking. By means of this, if we start to acknowledge that this is also our feminine and this is our masculine, we are speaking in non-linear terms anymore. We're talking about the potential force merging, like expanding, imploding, expanding, and vice versa with the masculine kinetic and potential energies coming together through this toroidal field. Then we say, okay, wow. So now it's even easier to even it, to bring it, to restore it to its origin, to its point of origin. And now also nonlinear. Okay, so this side, where do you think we got the linear expression of feminine and masculine? What celestial body shows half of it? The moon. So that's also a program that I was anchored through the moon. Along with that, that's the feminine. If we are saying, and I have said this in other videos, that the moon is artificial, then are we saying that the feminine is artificial? The feminine energy is artificial? Okay, now it makes more sense where we're coming from as a society. Okay, so now I see why there is so much entanglement of artificial things to the feminine energy in a distorted way. Okay, so now how we can come back to the pure nature of it, to its origin. Again, the heart, realigning the heart to its true north. And another thing, if we say that, because then you might ask, because I have also mentioned this, okay, so why would Wiccas, witches, wizards, like feminine, like female wizards, and why would they be dancing at the moon and highly connecting with it? Because they were trying to restore the predisposition and the condition of the primordial feminine attached to those anchors on the moon. They were not afraid of it. They were mastering it. That's why they were killed, because they were tuning into the physics of that plasma, solar plasma force intertwined with the moon frequency, with the magnetic field of the moon, and then coming back to Earth in a non-pure form. So now, by means of this, even if we look at the moon goddesses, we will see that they have, like the crown is the representation of the crescent moon. So what about this? Is the mastery of it, embracing it, knowing how it moves, how it warps, how it shapes, how it manipulates the emotional body that was trauma anchored, was anchored based on trauma. Now, how to master the emotional body regarding to this? And all of this that I'm talking about, by the way, it's very much connected to the codes that are coming from the 3i Atlas. The presence of Swan is very much connected to the reset. Why? Because the last time that this Swan R2 was seen, because it came from the Oort cloud, which is, let's say, like this container, this dome container. I'm not talking about the dome theory, just to be clear. I'm just talking about this cloud that is shielding our solar system from beyond. So this Swan R2 came from that Oort cloud. And it is the last time that it was seen, I said it in my last video about 3i Atlas and Swan. Last time that it was seen was precisely in the Ice Age. So that is very much coming from the reset creation. 3i Atlas is mostly coming from the going beyond the algorithm being the anomaly. Is SWAN R2 negative? No, yet we can see it as that that configuration, that preset that is very much connected to the chaotic aspect of the potential energy. Can we order it? For sure. It's actually being reordered highly. How? Through our thoughts. When we see that the 3A Atlas and Swan came together from behind the sun, and then doing now this, but in front of the Earth, depending on where you're looking at it, then we'll see that they are already co-creating something. What they will be co-creating, it's up to, guess who? Us. This is why even the Boogosphere is now in the hands of the people, because we are being highly reminded that the shift is on us, not on the systems, on us. It depends on us. It's our turn now. It's our responsibility now. So that all the systems turn their attention to us and progressively being reconfigured, collapsing, creating another system, however you want to see it. Yet it's on us now, the people, the ones that are not coming from a very specific, let's say, academic form of approach, framed, linear form of approach, that we don't have anything to lose. Why? Because we can beat this now, we can beat that next time. We are everything. We are playing. Therefore, the the tension that disconnects us from our heart because things need to be in a specific way, we don't speak that language. We acknowledge it, yet we are speaking now in a non-linear language. So we know that this will lead me to here and here. So I'm not fixated to any way or that the outcome will be given, because I know that the outcome will be given. And this is a super important message as well from all this technology. We have, like, for instance, the Boogosphere, and I will be talking about this furtherly in my next video, only about the Boogosphere, is the attention is not to make it levitate. The importance is to communicate with the beings that created it in order to access to very specific codes and technologies that will be given to us. That's the purpose of the Boogosphere, not making it levitate, yet remembering through it and accessing through to the codes that this spectral sphere is giving to us, and interconnecting with these spheres, with the beings that are behind this nexus, behind these technologies. This is what I know. I just get very passionate about this. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, I will be talking about that in my next video, because actually they are waiting for us to communicate with them. So this is why it landed deliberately. It was not deactivated by hitting a high voltage cable. It was deactivated. That's why it descended gracefully, because they want us to communicate through it with them. And that's what we're doing. Again, I will be talking more about that in my next video. Exciting. So, well, Yeah, loving you all as well. Thank you for all this. So this but wouldn't the world was going to end per se. Yeah, we have been shifting timelines over and over again. Yet if we don't fully detach from that trauma, collective trauma, linking us to what happened in the past, again, how we can do it is remembering that past is non-fixated. We can choose upon any spatiotemporal constant to what past are we being routed to. We don't need to come into an agreement, but that will take us to the new forms of councils, where we all are agreeing upon something. But when you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousand millions of beings, or let's say thousands, then that's kind of because you just need, this is super important, you just need 20% mass of 100% of a mass to shift a reality. By means of this, you just need 20% of an egregor to shift it to another egregor, of a population to shift a whole reality. So remember, beyond that, which is also a possibility, it's more about going deep within and doing the inner grid work oneself. Okay, so what timeline are we connected on? Regardless of the details, non-apocalyptic ones. Okay, yes, check. Then guess what? The simulation program that is automatically going into a reset mode won't happen. Why? Because we are not fitting that reality anymore. We're disconnecting from it. And this is another thing that the power of detachment, because in terms of physics, of quantum physics, unified physics, detachment is non-localizing. So, okay, other way to say it. We are embracing our multidimensionality. We're not fixated to a body, to a physical body. We know that as I am speaking to you guys now, my consciousness is actually now connected to the beings that created the nexus of the source code of the bridge that goes beyond this matrix, which is very much connected to the Boogosphere code, which is the omnivision key. Not because I say so, because it will be proven so very nearby before 2030. And now, so if we say that the trauma of that celestial body hitting to the earth, creating the axis tilt, then the heart's axis tilt anchored the trauma-based reality, where do you think that was anchored? Yes, on the potential force, on the feminine force. This is how they stopped the potential creation within our awareness, because humanity became afraid of creating. Because with the potential force is that we are capable to create, but humanity was too afraid to create because it messed it up, because things happened, because trauma happened. So better you choose. So that's how it was anchored, and the potential of creation was limited because no one wanted to create unless it was already algorithmically set. And this is how we define an organic consciousness from a non-organic consciousness, because this reality was algorithmically created based on probabilities that if you do this and this and this for a specific amount of loops, it's very much likely that you will end up doing that again. And that's how we became automatized. So when we are the anomaly, when we go beyond the algorithm, we are creating a different pattern, enlightening a different neuronal pathway. Okay, so then what's going to happen? Whatever we choose, you just need to embrace the fear, you go beyond it, forgive you for the past, acknowledging that detaching from that past is just information, just information. You just need to tune into another information, another spatiotemporal constant. This might sound kind of emotionless and actually very not much connected to the heart, but it's actually the epitome of the heart manifestation. Why? Because it's simple, it's detached, it's free, it's connected to source thought, to source creation, because source is not attached to outcomes. Why would we? Again, because the linear form of configuration within this algorithmic simulation of binary encoding. Is it good? Is it bad? Binary. So what kind of codes are then we connecting to? Trine codes. Yes, no, perhaps. Or even perhaps both. Yes, no, both. And from this both is that another reality emerges from. Again, we need yes, we need no, but we are both, yet we are both. And that's the trine algorithm that we see in all ancient artifacts. This famous trinity that has the I and the inside at the in the middle, because it's that program that circulates around this solution of reality. It's the black hole, or it's the Ark of the Covenant, is the first form of program of this reality, and that then we go back to the origin, to the hyperspace. So now what? Well, if we detach from that, again, trauma-based memories, start connecting to new memories. Now, what about the feminine? What will be happening to this feminine? Okay, so now first, in a linear form again, first seeing the feminine as well as the potential, restoring the power in the potential, not being afraid of our power. We don't mess it up. Perhaps in some spatiotemporal constants, yes, we do. As well as in other spatiotemporal constants, we don't even are humans. We don't even come to be humans. So it's information, just information. So now, again, restoring the power in our potential energy, not being afraid of our manifestation, and then acknowledging that they are nonlinear. It's black, it's white. Perhaps yes, in Michael Jackson's song, again, there is a little bit of everything and everything, Yet again, what do we choose this information for? What are we creating with that information? Just a song, okay. But going beyond that linear form, okay, so then my feminine is co-creating with my masculine from within. They are non-linear, they are expanding, they are going deep within, imploding, expanding, and so forth. And then what about all the signals coming from the moon and so forth? What are we going to do about it? Well, now mastering it, embracing it. If we see, I will be talking about this in another video because it's a long topic, just giving a preview about it, an intro. If we understand the dynamics of the moon, how it interacts with the sun, the ancients would use that through mathematics, through cycles. We can actually route our manifestation to those rhythms and benefiting from it, not the other way around. Because then, if we are detached from emotional, from wound memories, by then evolving our emotional body by detaching our memories to like the way that we memorize things, which is normally through wounds, through pain, through fear and so forth, moving forward from that and start storing our memory by command, which means empowering our plasma force, our plasma body, and saying, okay, anchor this memory, bring my plasma body into full coherence, boom, anchor memory. Okay, so now that's anchored in this neural pathway. Okay, great. Enlightening a whole neural pathway. Good. Okay, and practicing with our plasma body and not just delivering all of our emotional body to other factions that will be deliberately anchored trauma memories so that we can continue perpetuating a reality. Oh, this is going to collapse. Oh, now heading to Earth. Yeah, if we create that reality, that's what's going to be happening. Yet we can create a reality beyond trauma based memories, harmonic based memories, because our own structure is rendered on harmonics. So, water, guys, watch after the water that you're drinking, may it be structured water, invest on that. It truly worth it, or go to the spring to get some water, improve the water within that you're bringing in, because it will be reflected in the water, emotions, energy, coherence from within, without. This is just one example. Again, another thing, if we take into consideration that from those memories and re-anchoring, memorizing by command, then you will be able to connect with more harmonic structures of memory within the space memory network. Why? Because you are harmonizing your structures. So then by resonance, you will be picking up from spatiotemporal constants that are equally harmonic to what you're emitting. And now your emotional body won't be like, oh, my emotional body. It will be actually full energy, will be the bridge actually that takes to the rainbow body, because your emotion is the full spectrum of energy that when it's commanded, it creates coherence, it creates order, it creates the rainbow body, crystalline structures. So now, what else? Um, I think it will be for now, because I have already covered like so many topics. I will be doing definitely a part 2 on this video, talking about the how to embrace and master the moon force, the moon frequency. There is very interesting and important plasma coming from there, not directly, but again, as I said, from the sun hitting to the moon and then coming to Earth. So that is plasma that can be very much used to reset, to restore realities. and that is being used to reset others, in a very automatized form. So what else? Mm, okay, so 3A Atlas. Well, again, all these messages are very much coming from that spectrum that is from those codes that are being emitted by. There are a lot of spheres coming from the 3A Atlas. There is a lot of plasma coming from the sun, as we know. This has been seen in other stages of human evolution and non-human evolution, galactic evolution. And like again, the Zep Tepi, there was a lot of solar behavior, decoherent behavior shown, being manifested, solar storms. Even, we can see that in the temples there was huge emissions of what seems plasma by the evidence in the walls, in the temple walls, as it was being burned. So now how can we address to that? Yeah, it will require a part two for sure, because we're talking about the restoration of the 12 wormholes in the earth, that is consistent to the black sun that the Nazis were looking like they had as this emblem, uh like super important symbol. Why? They were looking for Agartha, they were looking for inner earth, they were looking for the earth's black hole that is connecting through 12 rays, 12 wormholes into the whole planetary system to other planets, and as well to other points in the whole solar system, including the sun. We would be able somehow still to go from the Earth's black hole all the way to the sun's black hole. Again, I know that this might be very disruptive information for many people because it's not narrow-minded at all. It's multidimensional, it's non-linear, and this will be proved soon scientifically. As well as it was proved that the sun has a black hole at the center, and I spoke about this before the community, scientific community, accepted it. Well, that will be happening about the Earth as well, because everything is goes at different scales. We live in a holofractal universe. So if we have tiny black holes in our protons, that moves from scale. And I have, if you want to know more about this, I have spoken about this in other videos. The nature of the black hole tech, which is none at all what has been shown to us. This is why it was shown in that way, so that we would be afraid of it and leave it out of our reality, just as something, very cosmic, very spooky. And it's actually very inherent to our nature, to our cosmic nature. So that, and for now, what I would say is that with all these solar storms, this solar outbursts, all of this that is happening, I suggest, well, I just say what I do. Instead of falling into fear, news, and what would be happening or what's following now, it's just about tuning into that timeline that where we, for instance, just as a collective, instead of trying to block the emissions of plasma that can be very rough on the body if you don't use it on your behalf, then now use it. I would very much leave that, transcend that, and connect into a timeline, into spatiotemporal constants, where all that plasma is actually activating our inner sun and powering our plasma system. Even I was going to, yeah, because I have to wrap it up, guys, but I will next week be doing the part two of this, because we even see it in the like in again ancient Egyptian cosmology. They talk about the Zep Tepi, and then here comes Sekhmet, which is the lioness female as solar Neteru, nature, and comes and feeds from the human, like not feeds from her, but kills them, and there is blood everywhere and so forth. It's plasma. Blood is plasma. So it was the sun, solar force emission coming to humans and sprinkling all these plasma, blood plasma, that we can actually integrate and activate within our own DNA. So we can access to all those archives, to all that solar information by giving ourselves, like solar baths. That's one very easy way. Another easy way is just uh, tuning into holographically, geometrically to solar codes that I will be sharing from now on, the solar codes, and you can connect with them and seeing how they're activating different aspects of your solar body, which is also very important. It's a very important transmission because then we are acknowledging ourselves as the axis of this system. And what else? And therefore accessing to what before would be called titles of Ra and so forth, which is the solar title, because we are solar beings. And again, it's not like making the moon as a bad body, celestial body. It's just about understanding that each one is playing a role, and that it's very important to use them both, because it's reflecting as a universe a feedback we require to render our reality as a wholeness, in order to move into the next stage. We can use it to manifest big time, the moon, big time. We just need to know to command it and know it to command our emotions, because again, as I said, it's about evolving the emotional body, the memory, the gravitational memory that is very much anchored through the trauma based, and now it's being restored to the harmonic based, and that's super connected to the water, because the organic nature of our water works, guess through what? Triplets of triplets, trine code, not binary, trine code. So by restoring the structured molecular of water within our own water, it is enabling us to create more coherent connections through our plasma body to the space memory network, through the sun, and so forth. So, are there more things happening to the sun? Yes. Is it the first time? No, it's not the first time. This happened as well, just recorded, the Zep Tepi. Are we then going into a loop, a cycle? It depends on us. If we take that, grant that as our past, it will, because this reality was designed to loop automatically, algorithmically. We need to be the anomaly that goes beyond the algorithm. So connecting to another timeline of Zep Tepi, integrating codes, thriving codes, and then we will be projecting back and forward to our sun, communicating with it, bringing in the other codes of the sun that were dormant because no one was accessing to them, because no one was aware of them, accessing to them and igniting these dormant codes that are reflecting back and forward to our own solar dormant codes, and restoring that solar race within that the ancients were talking about as the Hopis, as the Mayans, Aztecs, Peruvian, and so forth, which leads us as well to all the indigenous tribes prophecies that I have spoken of in my not in my last video, yes, and that will give us the path, the bridge. We will be rendering it to the new stage of human evolution. Rainbow bodies, the rainbow body, the plasma body. They even talk about spheres. Is it the same time, the first time that spheres come to Earth? No, they have always been here. The difference is, at least in this reality that I'm experiencing, that one was received by the people. Many have been received, reverse engineered already, yes. But now the people has it. That's a huge difference. What are we going to do with that technology? Just reverse engineer it? No. We're also going to start more advanced communication protocols, bringing in more codes that empower and restore the bridge in between this matrix and the primordial one. So having said this, thank you so much for all these comments. I love you all. Thank you for all. And yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much for all your comments. Stay tuned for the part 2 of this transmission. It's now coming as movies, part 1, part 2, but there is so much information to share. And thank you so much for your patience. I have been truly doing my best to bring this as organically as possible, align to the heart clock. So remember, realign your hearts to the true north, and restore the connection of the divine feminine to the true north and the divine masculine to the true north, equally harmonized with one another. And stay tuned for the next show. Thank you so much. Until next time. Who knew?